What's up, gang? Welcome back. I'm back, and so is Kanye. So I know I'm late to this. Last Saturday, Kanye released Bully. Finally, after like 3 years or some shit. So it's finally here. And the reason I'm only reacting to it now is because I wanted to give myself some time to kind of let it settle into my brain a little bit. Now, if it's settled like fine wine or like milk, let me explain. So, first of all, we have to talk about the production process, like when it comes to Booty, because oh my god, did it take a long. Now, Kanye is famously known for like his albums taking like 20 years to finish. But with Bully, it was a little different because there were so many leaks already at like the beginning about like little songs that like little clips that were released, and people were like, okay, and already got a lot of backlash for like having AI involved and whatever. So he kept changing it and whatever. And then randomly, I think it was about a year ago, maybe almost exactly a year ago, he just released the entire album onto X and only X or Twitter, not on Spotify, not on Apple Music. No, the entire album. I think it was like 9 songs or something. He just released the entire album, and it had AI in it, and the lyrics were unfinished, but overall it was pretty good. So people were actually excited. Like, okay, this is not another like Kanye song about like hating Jews or whatever. So people were thinking like, okay, is he back? Is he back? And then for a while, it kind of became quiet again. People started saying like, "Ooh, will there be AI? Will there not be?" And then he had like this bipolar rant with like, "I'm gonna get AI on it. I'm not gonna get AI on it," and it took like 10 years, basically. And on Spotify, he started a countdown, but the countdown changed every time it came close to the actual deadline.
So you said the album was coming out on Saturday. It didn't come out. What happened? I didn't finish it.
So it'd be like, oh, Booty, in almost one day it will release, and then for like the next day, it will take like an entire month for it to release. So eventually, me and a friend of mine who also loves Kanye a lot, we just kind of stopped caring and just waited. We were like, it will release someday, the album, right, guys? Hopefully, and it did. It's here. Bully is here, which is insane. It dropped, and instead of having like 9 songs, it has 18 songs. So almost a half of it is new. So is it any good? Is it better than Bully version 1? I think not. So the thing is with Bully version 1 is that it kind of had this crazy 60s theme to it, which I thought was awesome. And it also had a lot of bangers, which are now changed because of sampling issues, because obviously artists were like, yeah, I don't think I want to support a Jew hater. So it is very different, and I think it kind of turned out worse. But hey, there isn't AI. But why I'm saying this now is because for the rest of this video, I don't really want to mention, or I'm going to try to not mention, the earlier release of Bully. Normally, I would not even care a little bit, but because he did kind of release an entire album on Twitter, it matters a little bit. But for this video, I don't want it to matter because I want to kind of judge it as like its own thing. So that's also why I gave myself a week to kind of forget the older songs. I didn't listen to like Bully version 1, so I can kind of embrace the new Bully. And also, if I'm then still a little bit biased, I also asked my friends for their opinion. They had like this whole rating system that they all used to rate all the songs. Even my girlfriend who loves K-pop, and love you, JYP. So yeah, I think it's okay to say that this video isn't biased. And I'm not gonna say that this new album is bad because it's worse than the older version. But I just wanted to put it out there because I think it's quite interesting. So the last disclaimer I want to give, by the way, which I think is really important, especially to Kanye, is that Spotify allows artists to change the album after it's released on Spotify. And that's very important. So look at the date of this video, and even then take it with a grain of salt, because maybe he changed something like before I even uploaded it right now. I don't know, because I checked like when I was in the car like 2 hours ago. Apparently Circles was removed or something, so maybe that just got kicked off the album. I don't know. But yeah, so keep that in mind. That he could have, maybe the album is really good when you're watching this right now. I don't know.
Hey Kanye, did she put her fingers up your booty? No!
I believe the album has 18 songs and it's about 42 minutes. So it's actually like really short for how many songs it has. I don't think there's a song that's longer than 4 minutes. I actually quite like this. I think songs have become a little too long lately in the music industry. Also with shows and movies, it's kind of everywhere. So I'm really glad that they're a bit shorter. I know some of my friends don't like it, and I can get that if you really like a song, but I think it's pretty good that they're kind of short. One of the problems I do have with this album are the samples. And I don't just mean samples, I mean I don't know how to explain these samples, but the talking samples. A lot of songs these days, which kind of come from Kanye, have like this thing where, I don't know how to explain, like that someone talks. And albums do this a lot lately, and I hate it. Sometimes it's really good when it has to do something with the song. In Mama's Favorite, I think the sample's really good. But for the rest, the talking samples with Father and Sisters and Brothers, they don't really work for me, because it's just more preacher stuff, and I don't feel like it has a connection to the actual album. Maybe it does, I don't know. But for me, it just doesn't do it, and I think it's very overdone lately. I know it's Kanye, and he basically created that stuff, so take it with a grain of salt, but I don't really like it that much. Also, a kind of huge problem that I have with this album is the theme. Because what even is the theme? So the thing is that the original, and this is why I said I'm gonna try to talk about it at least as possible. This has nothing to do with like my final score, but just to clarify, the original album that he released was kind of a 60s like theme, right? Like it had one theme, and I like that. This new album, I guess with the new songs especially, he just added a lot of different themes. You have like themes from Yeezus, but also maybe like is more old school stuff like Dropout or whatever, and also the 60s stuff, and it just feels very disorienting. Like you have songs like Punch Drunk, but then you also have songs like Father, which also give a little bit of Utopia vibes, which makes sense because you worked on that, but it feels all over the place. And I get maybe that originally in his mind he was like, you know, he said all that Jew shit and way more worse stuff actually. So, and then he apologized. So maybe this was like his life album, like this summary or whatever. I don't know what his plan was, but it more feels like a midlife crisis album. It doesn't really feel like a conclusion to like I'm better now. It more feels like a summary of everything that went wrong, and he tries to kind of save it with his old tunes. And it just ends up being very chaotic. And it kind of ruins the flow. I think a flow to an album is kind of important. Like, if I'm rating, like, only specifically the songs, then it doesn't really matter. Because then it has to do with the theme of the song, obviously. But when I'm rating an album, I kind of want a theme. Or, like, some story that it tells. And, again, maybe it does. I don't know. I'm not very good at, like, lyrics understanding. Sometimes I hear people break down lyrics and I'm like, whoa, I never picked up on that. But from an average listener, I guess, with maybe a little bit more experience, because I listen to a lot of it. I've literally listened to every Kanye song, even the unreleased stuff. I don't really get it. That what is the point of this album? Because it has preacher stuff and then it has just some weird shit. And yeah, I don't really get the album. It doesn't really feel like an album, if that makes sense. And another problem that I have with this album are the lyrics. Now I'm gonna change my opinion a little bit here from the original script, because I've listened to it more. And I enjoy the lyrics a little bit more now, because, you know, when you like listen to a song a lot, you actually kind of can hear the lyrics in your head, so you kind of listen to it more, if that makes sense. At first, you're kind of more focused on the beat and like what's going on. But I think the lyrics aren't that good still. I think they're a little bit better now that I've listened to it a lot more, but I think when it comes to lyrics to a song, if you're gonna add lyrics to a song, the lyrics itself don't really have to mean a lot. A lot of people think that they have to, but I don't think that's true. I think you speak with your music in many different ways. But I do think if you're gonna add lyrics, there has to be some involvement, something iconic to it. Like, what does this add? Like, if I say a boom, 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 and then it adds to the beat, then it makes sense that I did that, right? And in this album, the lyrics don't really feel iconic as well. They kind of feel forgettable. And that kind of sucks, because that's not really what Kanye is about. Most of the time, Kanye raps about stuff that, you know, he kind of jokes with his rapping. That's at least what I experience. Sometimes he says some dumb stuff or something.
I love your titties because they prove I could focus on two things at once.
And it's like, oh, that's clever. You know, he's a clever guy when it comes to his lyrics. But here it just kind of, it doesn't really have that Kanye iconic lyrics to it or whatever. I know that some songs are very good before people are gonna hate. I know that Highs and Lows and All the Love, they have way better lyrics. Also Damn and White Lines, actually.
White lines.
I don't really like that song. I'm gonna get into it later. But so there are some iconic or more better lyrics, I guess, but most of all, it kind of just, I'm kind of just going, okay, like you have Father, for example, with like Travis Scott, right? And banger collab, by the way. But you listen to the song and I'm kind of like, K-Drive, and I'm like, okay. It doesn't really oomph me, you know? It doesn't really give that effect. And I'm just kind of like, okay, this beat is fire, but what the fuck are they saying? Does that make sense? I don't know. But for me, it doesn't. And I think the most important thing that I want to talk about, which I have to involve into the video, the audio quality.
I died and rearranged and moved my mind forward.
It's garbage. It's really bad. It's like, it's like, what the fuck? I don't know what he thought. Like, when you have, like, leaks or whatever, you know how, like, the audio quality is, like, kind of bad because it's, like, recorded from someone's cell phone while he was playing it on the PC or whatever. I don't know. But it's like those leaks were combined and then he just uploaded them. Like, what the hell is going on with the audio quality in this album? It sounds so bad. And everybody's like, oh my god, he took off AI. And I'm like, okay, that's great, but a lot of stuff still sounds like shit. I'm sorry. Bully, Highs and Lows are kind of flawed in their audio quality. But Circles, Preacher Man, White Lines, they sound like shit. They sound so bad. It sounds really bad. And the more you listen to it and the more that I listen to it, the more I got used to it. And one of my friends actually said that it kind of more sounds like this was like, maybe not on purpose, but it kind of adds a little style to it, and I can kind of get that, but I don't like it. I don't know, I just don't like it. So, what are my final thoughts on this album? If I combine everything that I just said, well, first I'm gonna be a little bit boring and give an actual score. And this is more because my friends gave one and then I gave one, so I thought I'm just gonna say it in the video. And combining scores of 5 different people, actually 6, with myself included, it goes down to about a 7.1 out of 10, so a 7 out of 10. And I think this is a pretty good score for this album, but I don't really want to just say, oh, it's a 7 out of 10, because I think that's kind of lame. I don't really want to give numbers to it, so, but just for people who want the score, there you go, that's the score. Here are my final thoughts. Do I think Bully is a good album? No. I don't think it's a good album. I think it's kind of flawed. I think Kanye kind of missed his mark with the album, and it tries to be a redemption album, and it kind of feels like that with Highs and Lows and All the Love, which are also kind of bangers. But at the same time, it still feels deeply flawed, maybe because the process was so long. And I mean, you waited this long and they have songs like Preacher Man where I'm like,
They switching sides, I seen it coming.
what are you doing? So the album is all over the place, and that's why I think it has failed. It's not a bad album because the overall quality is bad, which, I mean, technically, yeah, the audio quality is kind of bad, but it's not because of that, but it's a bad album because I would never want to listen to this entire album if tracks like Preacher Man or Circles are just ruining my ears. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it works like that. When I look at All the Love, and I think a lot of people like this, the kind of Daft Punk kind of style to that, especially at the end, that like, I think it's auto-tune. I don't know what he did, but it's really cool, I think. And I'm like, what is this album? It's so chaotic. And yeah, I think how I could summarize my opinion before I go on like yapping. Here's what I think. I think Bully fails as an album, and I don't think I would recommend it to the average listener. Because first of all, they would go, what the hell is this? And my ears hurt, and what the hell is this? And it just wouldn't work. But I do think that Bully is a great track list. I think it has bangers on it. This album has some real bangers. All the Love, Damn, this one here, Highs and Lows. It has a lot of bangers. So it's not bad. And I think a lot of people can find at least a few bangers that they like from this album. And that's a lot more than most albums can say anyway. I think that this album is important for Kanye's redemption, if he ever truly does have a redemption. And I think it's a right step in the direction. I would rather have this album than Vultures 1 or 2. It's a light compliment, but it is a compliment, I guess. So I think it works as a track list, but I don't think it works as an album. That's my final review for Bully. But let me know what you guys think. I know that a lot of people have very mixed opinions. Some of my friends thought this album was amazing, and others said, what is this album? So I think I kind of struck a middle ground here. And why I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 is still because I think it has a lot of bangers. As an album, that's why I don't really want to give it a score, because it's just all over the place. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, and just, swear at me if you disagree with me, or make love with me if you love the album. I don't know. But let me know. And I hope you guys like this video, and I'll see you guys next time.